DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Monster Energy, Nice Cactus, and GGBet.
The sun has risen over Seville, Spain, and with that comes day 2 of DreamHack Open 2019. Today, we will be bidding farewell to 4 of our glorious teams, so only 2 can join Crazy and Mad Lions in tomorrow's Championship Sunday to fight for the chance to lift the glorious trophy and take the lion's share of $100,000 prize money. My name is Freya Smith, your desk host for the duration of this glorious weekend of Counter-Strike. And of course, I want to start off by giving a massive shout out to our sponsors, Monster Energy, Corsair, and of course, Nice Cactus. But they're not the only people joining me up on the desk. Joining me are my wonderful analysts, Potter and Blair. How are you two doing this fine morning?
I'm feeling great. It was a fun night last night.
Yeah?
Yeah, we actually went to explore the city a little bit.
Yeah,
it was very, very nice.
We had some ham. Some Iberian ham.
We also
some cervezas as well.
We got caught by a parade multiple times.
Oh
we had to plow our way through a lovely parade.
I've never seen so many people compacted in a small street. Like it was wild.
You really haven't traveled much outside of the US, have you?
I have not.
All right.
But of course, yesterday we weren't just exploring Seville. We had a lot of fun watching the Counter-Strike as well. Were there any highlights in particular for you guys?
Oh yeah, Mad Lions. Mad Lions just came to play. They look so very dominant, crazy as well to a certain degree, but Mad Lion was just so much more impressive for me.
Definitely so, and I guess for me the surprise is big. I'm not sure exactly where they are. Hopefully they show up a little bit more today, although I do feel like they got a little unlucky, I would say, in that OT. There was chances for them to close that one out, but hopefully today they actually show up.
Yeah, of course, and I also thought Crazy were looking incredibly good yesterday. They were very, very impressive. Were there any upsets? I don't think there were too many upsets coming up.
I don't think there was really any upsets. I think the little bit of a surprise for me was the way Illuminar completely dismantled Godsend on that nuke map. They looked so very good. They were looking sharp, really focused in. But then when they faced off against Mad Lions, it just got completely caught out, right? Picking Vertigo, allowing Vertigo to go through, not really panning out for them. But I think it kind of played out the way we all expected, to be very honest. No big surprises there, and some pretty big disappointments in the form of, like, you know, you expect the Hometown Heroes Movistar Riders to at least put up a fight, and they just went out with a whimper, it felt like, that map yesterday.
Definitely so, and I guess Inferno, you know, it's a very team-oriented map. We know that Steel just joined that team. Spanish isn't even his native language, so it certainly has to be tough, but you're absolutely right. They do have to step up today because it's Elimination Day.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of Elimination Day, let's take a look at our brackets and see exactly what has gone down. Obviously, Crazy sitting there in our higher bracket for tomorrow's games, and of course, Mad Lions as well. They're straight through to Championship Sunday, which is pretty huge. They get today off. As we were speaking to I think it was from, the coach from Crazy yesterday, was him. There was 2 different aspects. Mad Lions were like, yep, we're going to be focusing straight in and doing a lot of practice, a lot of prep. Neil was like, yeah, we're going to go out, have a look at Seville, which I don't blame him. It's a very, very nice city. So 2 different approaches.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool, right? It's pretty cool, like, if these 2 teams, and let's be honest, we're going to expect these 2 teams to reach the finals. If they do, it's going to be different styles of Counter-Strike, different approaches to the game, and a different approach of coaching as well. Crazy is more free-flowing, they want to have fun, and Mad Lions are just, like, focused in. They're, like, playing the Danish style of CS.
Of course.
It's going to be fun to watch them play against each other.
And we have to remember, guys, Crazy has been here before. As I mentioned yesterday, this is like their 7th DreamHack Open just this year. So they've certainly been through it. They know exactly what to expect come Sunday. So hopefully they give us a good show in that semifinal.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of want to pick up on what you were saying there about Mad Lions, because we saw in our final game, it went to Vertigo. We weren't necessarily expecting it, but Hunden kind of alluded to it in a post-game interview of their previous game that we would be going to. And I think that was the spectacular way to end off yesterday.
Yeah, I think they've been reading, I think most of the teams have been reading the map viewers pretty well. And for Hunden, I think, to be very honest, it felt like Illuminar kind of screwed themselves over, to be very honest, allowing that map through. I know what they felt. They're like, hey, you know what? It's Vertigo. It's still, the meta hasn't really been defined yet. We could kind of shock and awe them. But Mad Lions is so good. 4 players dropping 20 kills in a stomp is something you don't see that often. And they just look so solid right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's take a look at our current group that we're going to be seeing stepping up first in today's games. Obviously, we're going to be seeing Movistar Riders take on Big in our first game of Saturday. But I like that we've got the previous games up here as well, because we can kind of talk about some of those games that we were seeing yesterday. Obviously, Crazy going pretty big over Movistar Riders, and that made them drop into the lower bracket. And then the Norse big game, which we alluded to earlier, which was, we kind of pitted it to be the game of the day. And it really was. It really did deliver 19-16 overtime. That must have been tough for Big.
It would have been tough. And here's the thing, Potter, we spoke about this. A couple of clutches in the first half, not going the way of North. Kirby really came up big, didn't he? But if he didn't win a couple of clutches there, it would have probably been 16-5 to Big. So they're going to be feeling it. They're going to be feeling a little sad about that.
Exactly. And we spoke about yesterday about the sustainability of Kirby. How many times is he going to actually be able to step up to that nature in important matches like that? And it's not going to be every time. So everyone else on North have to step up today as well, for sure.
Exactly. Well, what's so interesting about this is that if Big win this, they'll be facing off again later in a best of three. And we were talking about the sort of nature of best of ones versus best of threes. And I think it would be super interesting to see them come together, because I think that could be potentially, again, the match for the day.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm expecting it to happen, obviously. I mean, we're still not talking about the matchup happening right now, but Big are the favorites, right? And yesterday, considering they almost won that game, they had it in the bag and they kind of like let it loose. I'm expecting one hell of a barn burner. I think that game is going to be the game of the day here.
Yes, exactly. Well, speaking of the game that we're going to be getting into now, Potter, you've got 3 reasons why for this first game.
Yes, so these are my 3 reasons why this is going to be tough for Movistar Riders. And with reason number 1 is the big 3. I mean, the big 3 on the big lineup. It's Tabson, Smooya, and Xantares. These 3 are the stars of this squad. They've been picked up specifically for that purpose. And so pound for pound, I think it's going to be a little bit rough for the Movistar Riders if these 3 show up. And with reason number 2, Big has history. These guys, like we mentioned yesterday, were within the top 10 of the world. So they've certainly been there, done that. And they're trying to get back to their glory days. Whereas Movistar Riders are in a little bit of a different state. They're trying to establish themselves and kind of create a foundation for themselves. And with reason number 3, well, Movistar Riders is a mystery. A little bit of a rhyme there. And it's as I mentioned, these guys have not established themselves. This is their day. This is the tournament for themselves to actually make a name.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love that you picked up on some of the 3 players that you want to be focusing on their big, because some of them yesterday against the game, against North rather, some of them stepped up, some of them not so. There's some clutch moments for Xantares, but then some of the players, I don't know, they looked a little bit lackluster in that overtime.
I think,
yeah. It did.
I think you're right. I mean, specifically Smooya, earlier on in the first half, he was a little bit more quiet. And of course, he did kind of get into it. We saw some really nice clutch moments for him. But beginning of the match, he was a little bit quiet. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and if you look at it, like, it felt like no one in particular really dropped off. Next had a comparatively quieter game. Yeah. It's just that Kirby just made everyone look kind of average at best. He just had one of those games, right? But overall, I really like what they did. That CD side was really looking really good. And even on the T side, even though it managed to go to overtime, they had a few cool ideas up their sleeve. Like they had that eco round, they had a triple nade stack towards the top of HUD, which didn't work out, but they tried. They had a game plan, man. They were trying to catch Kirby or AZ on top of the HUD.
They even had to execute for the Molly on top of HUD coming out the door.
So they have good ideas in place. I think remnants from the GOP B days, it just didn't really quite click, but maybe today might be the day.
Yeah, and I think that's just definitely another reason why it really is going to be tough for Movistar Riders. But I'm very interested to see what the maps are going to be. Of course, this is a best of 3 series rather than a best of 1s, which we all saw yesterday. So, Blair, I know you've had a few ideas of what's going to be happening here.
Yeah, I think Potter has, we've been speaking about this a bit, and I'm going to give this one to you. Let's see what you got.
I think Big are going to have to veto Vertigo here first. It's not a map that they're very comfortable on, and Movistar Riders are going to have to veto Dust 2.
Yeah.
Now, I think Movistar Riders should pick Train here. Not that it's their most comfortable map, but it's not Big's comfort pick.
I'm going to go with Overpass.
Overpass?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Big will probably have to pick Mirage. Okay, yeah, Mirage, Overpass.
We're good at this.
Okay.
And all right, I'm not going to leave you hanging there. And I think Nuke should be banned up a Big. Just because, I don't know, like they might be moving start like reading into the way they had the T side. So I think Inferno might be the final map. Oh, no, Big ban Inferno. That's interesting. That is interesting. Okay. I would have allowed Inferno through because I think that's a map that Big are traditionally very comfortable on. It's not the best map right now, and Inferno is a map where both these teams are very comfortable letting through in a best of 3 decider map. So a little curious to see Train coming up, but the first 2 maps, yeah.
But it was up to Movistar Riders to make sure that that Train does go through. And as I mentioned, it's not Big's strongest map point. Out of all the maps, I mean, Movistar Riders, they have like, I think 15 or so
Is it going to go to map 3, Potter?
Hey, you know, the chances of it are very low. But the chance is still there, Blair.
You're a believer, aren't you? I'm not. It's not going to go to Train.
Well, actually, that's a good point to bring up. Do you actually think that it will go the full 3 maps? Do you think that Movistar Riders are going to take it? No?
Not at all.
A definitive no.
A definitive no. This team has done nothing to impress so far. They picked up Steel as an in-game leader. He's the guy, I mean, we have these guys over here. We have Steel coming in as in-game leader. He's not supposed to be the main fragger. He's not supposed to be the heavy carry, but he's the only one. It seems like with cojones on that team, he's the guy who's pushing into the flames, getting his opening kills, getting his impact frags. Yesterday in Inferno, even though they lost, he was the one guy who stood out. He's also their highest rated player on LAN. Albeit they haven't played that many LAN games, but when he's being brought in as a hard carry and as an in-game leader, something's wrong there. Alex is the one player who has looked pretty good, but primarily online. The rest of them, Lowell, I mean, what are you doing, right? This is a guy who was on our radar a long time ago alongside Mixwell. He hasn't really shown up, and the rest of the other 2 teams, that's Mopos and Eastor, again, Eastor had a terrible game yesterday, 7 frags in that loss they had against Crazy, and they just haven't shown any signs which would make me want to believe that it would go to map number 3.
Yeah, exactly. But do you think there's been any particular issues just looking at that game against Crazy yesterday? Obviously, it's quite hard because Chip was going off. Also, Esperanto was also going off, which we kind of pitted to be the 2 star players for that game. But do you think that Movistar Riders had any particular issues that they'd have been working on last night coming into today's game?
I think so. I mean, they had some good looks, right? And of course, they did not show up yesterday. It was day 1, though, and I'm just trying to get into their mindsets right now. The nerves, I'm sure, showed up. And as you said, if Ships is showing up, just running down Banana with that Mag 7 and acing you, things get a little bit more tough. But they did have some nice looks. They had a nice contact play towards that Banana. And the thing is, the protocols, I saw them in place. On the CT side of Inferno, it's very difficult to set up your proper crossfires and have the setups with the utility unless you dry run through. So those kinds of foundations, they were there for Movistar Riders. It was just the individuals, pound for pound, not really showing up when it mattered most. So if they do show up today and they're able to get those frags on the board, then they're going to set themselves up for at least a chance here.
Yeah, but at the same time, it feels like, I agree with you, they had a couple of cool adaptations coming in on the T side of Inferno, but it was so easy to read, I felt like, and Neil himself mentioned, it's like, yeah, we knew exactly what they're going to be doing. There were so many obvious tells coming in. Now, those tells might not really be a factor when you're playing against the lower tier teams that they play in some of those online leagues, but against a team like Crazy, it's going to be read like an open book, and they just got abused time and time again. They need to stop trying to stick to a particular game plan and trying to be a little bit more explosive. Make Big feel uncomfortable. Like on Big's T side, for example, and Big are very notorious for trying to go for like set executes and trying to go for all this nade stacks and whatever. Don't allow them the map control and the comfort to set up those nades. Be a little aggressive, poke and prod. You are the underdogs. You have nothing to lose. Play like one.
Yeah, exactly. We can see Big getting ready on our screens here. Now, the HLTV World Ranking 29th might be a surprise to some people, but actually thinking about their past year, they really haven't shown up to much. I mean, the highlight for me, I remember from 2018 was ESL1 Cologne. Yep. And sort of since then, there's been nothing much from them. And they've had some people stepping out, stepping back in. It seems like them trying to get on as a team and sort of build something together has been a bit of a struggle. Yeah,
ever since they lost Gobi, or rather Gobi stepped down, 2nd of August, I do remember it was, and Next and Smooya came back in. August, the beginning of August, September, October, November, now we're in the middle of December. It's been 5 months. So you had your time to make something happen. It hasn't clicked yet. They seem to be a little lost. I know, it's very hard to fill in the shoes of Gobi, but the fact that you removed him means you had a different playstyle in mind. You wanted to try something different, and maybe that might really activate these players. They haven't been able to do that. I mean, none of these players have really shown anything special. They haven't had any great results. But if you look at the names here, like you talk about Smooya, you have talked about Tizian, you talk about Nex, all these guys, Zantaras, obviously. These are guys who have played in some very big events on very big stages, so they have the pedigree. It's just that right now they seem muted.
Definitely pedigree indeed, but I gotta say, yesterday, when they went up against North, those are some really competent players, very good players indeed. And I feel like I saw a lot of these players, if not all of these players on the big side, have moments within that game that made them look like the stars that they could be. We saw Zantaras having some amazing door pushes, just the aggression coming out of him, the headshot percentage coming out of him, and of course Tabson. I think these 2 players on the big side are the heavy hitters. They're the guys that set everyone else up for success. They're the guys that are going to be forward positions and just really being aggressive. And they showed up yesterday, although they lost. But, that's a Caribbean factor that you can't really always consider.
It's hard when someone's almost dropping a 40 bomb against you, right? Even Smooya, you do mention, like, he had a quiet game initially, but later on when he got the big green gun in his hand, he did kind of start to pop off. Some really nice flick shots, a little bit of aggression. He was making North feel very uncomfortable when he was wielding the big green gun, right? And I like to see a little bit more from him. I know he said, I'm not going to be thinking, just shooting, just taking heads off, but I like him to think a little bit as well. Thinking is good. You're a human being, not just a wild animal.
Yes, exactly. He looks like he's thinking there. Very deep in thought, Smooya. But I think that's an interesting point that you bring up, that obviously it was North they were playing the opening game against. I think potentially any other team that they were facing, they would have beaten quite easily. It was the only game that went to OT. We said it was going to be a really, really close one. So I think it was almost a little bit unfair for them to have to start off that way and be dropped into the bracket from that best of one.
It kind of feels like we did speak about the fact that both North and Big needed that win yesterday, right? And considering if we went to overtime, I think it's still up in the air as to where both these teams stand. North managing to claw their way back here, just popping off, showing that, hey, there's still some fight left in that team. And the same for Big. They had that game. It was almost a GG, and then they kind of like snatched defeat from the loving embrace of victory. So you still don't know where they stand right now, but this game is going to be, for me, if Big don't win this 2-0 in a very convincing fashion, I have questions to be thrown at them.
Well, we've got a head-to-head to bring up. We're going to be comparing Steel and Xantares, two players that you've highlighted. What are you comparing here?
Well, Steel, obviously, he's a Brazilian, as we all know, ex-major grand finalist. This guy has achieved a lot. Now he's coming to Movistar Riders, where he's supposed to elevate their style of play. And he's been fragging, he's been doing what he has to do, but the team just seems to let him down. Xantares, and obviously he is going to be a crucial factor in this lineup, right, in this particular best-of-3 series. For Xantares, it's going to be the obvious thing. I mean, this guy has been... There's so much hype behind this guy over the years, him coming into this big, but where is the superstar performance? We really haven't seen it from him. And especially an event like DreamHack Open, this should be easy for him. And so far, he hasn't really impressed me yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only round I can sort of particularly pinpoint from him from yesterday's game, I think it was round 14, round 15 or something, and it was a pivotal moment for them. But North just seemed to be so calm and so collected that they didn't let it tilt them, basically. And they also followed up, I believe, one by Smooya as well. So it was a decent showing from both players, but yeah, I do agree with you. Sort of hasn't been all-out performance that we may expect from him.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, those things they all count for something, right? Just baby steps. When you're facing off against one of the tougher opponents in your opening match, that could set you up for further success down the road in the tournament. I mean, these guys can make the minor adjustments that they need to make. That loss was so close. I'm sure in the back of their minds, they're thinking the 1 or 2 rounds, the 1 or 2 moments that could have changed it for them. Those are easy fixes that they could apply here today and make sure that it doesn't happen to them again. So I think, although it is a loss, although it is hard to get over, they should be able to take something away from that at least.
Yeah, exactly. And also these two teams haven't faced off since, I believe it's like March 2018. And even then, both lineups have changed so dramatically. This is just going to be such a fresh new match.
Yeah, you really can't look at past results for this matchup, right? You just got to look at current form, and current form is Big just look better. Yes, they, like Potter, you mentioned, there are two ways to look at it. You can be frustrated, or you can be like, we almost had it, we made a few mistakes, fix it, get back into it, and beat them tomorrow. And knowing Big, I think they should have that mentality. They should be coming in here completely confident. For Movistar Riders, like I said, there's nothing to lose right now. At least give us a show.
Well, I think we've been hinting at it, but I think it's time to get into our predictions. I imagine we're all going to be picking the same team, but Potter, I'm going to start off with you over there. Who you
I think you're probably right as well. I'm going to go with Big here. They should be able to take this one, just to prove themselves that they are the German superstars.
Yeah.
Echoing your thoughts exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to add anything to that. Big's going to win this. It's going to be 2-0. Just call it right now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be going with Big as well. But do you guys think it's just going to be the 2 maps? Do you think we're going to be getting to the 3rd and final map? I know your thoughts on this, Blair, but Potter, do you think map 3 is a possibility?
I hope so. The train is going to be the tell-all. As I mentioned, it's not Big's strongest map. Movistar Riders, when I spoke to Steel before this tournament, he said how much work and preparation they've been putting in. So hopefully they're able to actually showcase that, steal a win away on that train, and make it to that 3rd map and somewhat.
I didn't see any of the preparation in Inferno. I'm sorry.
You know what, Blair? I saw some of it.
Okay.
I saw some of it.
All right.
Well, you're Movistar's biggest critic today, but I also want to see if Twitch chat agree with us. Maybe for once they'll be siding with, they actually do. 70% with Big. Okay, well that's interesting. Maybe today they're turning over a new leaf.
Twitch is throwing a curveball our way.
Twitch is not making sense right now. Why are you voting for Big? That makes no sense. I'm sorry.
It's too logical.
It's too logical. I mean,
well,
anyway.
let's